inviting me here today. I'm Pamela Dolan. I'm the rector at St. Martin's in Davis, and it's just a joy to be with you here this morning. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. This quote from the 13th century poet Rumi has become very popular recently. I think it's because it represents something that many of us long for, but few have any idea where to find or how to cultivate it. It's a sense of ease, of non-judgment, what some call non-dualism. We know in our hearts that all the finger-pointing and blaming and shaming that is so rampant today is bad for us as a society, as individuals, as a church. But we're not sure what to do about it. Rumi's poem asks us to step away from all that, if only for a moment, if only long enough to let our nervous systems regulate and our bodies relax. We can't enter that field of ease and openness when all our energy is focused on being right and proving someone else wrong. Jesus asks us to step away from all that too. When the disciples asked him, "Who sinned, this man or his parents?" Jesus answered, "Neither this man nor his parents sinned." It's as if he is saying, stop fixating on your ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing. They're not relevant. They won't do anything to help heal this man, which is what I am here to do. This might be my favorite healing story in the Bible for two primary reasons. One, I have loved dirt and mud since I was a child, and it gives me a little thrill to imagine Jesus using mud to heal someone. The other reason I love this story so much is somewhat paradoxically because of the pushback that happens when this man is healed. So let me take these ideas one at a time. First, the mud. As I said, I have many happy memories of playing in the mud as a child. When I was really little, we lived in Vacaville, and my mom had a big vegetable garden. One day, she found me outside filling all the gopher holes with water from the hose, basically turning our whole yard into a sinkhole. That became a story that has been told at family dinners for many years. And maybe it's because of that background that imagining Jesus getting his hands dirty on purpose is delightful to me, and I dare say even healing. So many rigid, uptight ideas about Jesus and his followers have been handed down over the centuries. So it's good to be reminded that actually he was probably dirty a lot of the time, with all of his walking on dusty roads and getting in and out of boats full of fish. Not to mention that there was no indoor plumbing and clean water was not plentiful. So that almost glowingly white and pristine Jesus that we see in so much Christian artwork is a misrepresentation on just about every level. I fully believe in Jesus as the most truly human person to have ever lived. I think that's what the incarnation means, and I like to think that this story reminds us of that. It strongly suggests that Jesus wasn't put off by all our human messiness, whether of body or spirit, which makes complete sense to me. So digging a little deeper, so to speak, there's another layer of theological significance to Jesus using dirt to heal someone. When Jesus heals us, he is restoring us to the way God made us. which means earth or ground or soil. Similarly, the words human and humus have the same root as does the word humility. It's all about that earthiness. We are earth creatures, so it makes sense that God could use elements of the earth to help restore us to wholeness. In fact, if we think about our sacraments, it is almost always through humble materials such as bread and wine and water that God does some of his most potent transformational work. The other thing I want us to look at more carefully is the controversy that is caused by this healing encounter. It's kind of remarkable to see how much pushback occurs. Most of the time when we look at the healing stories in the gospel, we can see that one of the functions of healing is to restore the healed person to full inclusion in their community. In this story, though, the man born blind and his parents are drawn into a firestorm of criticism and accusation. While the parents do everything they can to sidestep it, the man himself speaks up on behalf of Jesus, insisting that he must be a prophet or a person of God of some kind, or he would not have been able to perform this miracle. He so enrages the religious authorities that they drive him out. Now, before we continue, I want to be absolutely clear that language that blames the Jews for the passion and death of Jesus is dangerous and has led to centuries of lethal anti-Semitism. What the Pharisees and some other Jews did here in this story shouldn't be causing us to look and critique them. It should be about an internal critique. They're doing the same thing that many of us Christians do all the time. We resist change and try to blame and banish anyone who threatens our settled understanding of how the world works. Every society wants its scapegoats. I have a sticker on my laptop that says, "If you hate anyone because of your faith, you're doing it wrong." This story reminds me of that adage. Religion is a sphere in which it is very easy to obsess over wrongdoing and right-doing. Franciscan priest and author Richard Rohr writes about this in his latest book, The Tears of Things. Speaking of both the church and most nations and cultures, he writes, "We like our illusions. We like having enemies, and we are quite accustomed to our wars and prejudices, as much as we insist on the contrary. They make us feel morally superior, even heroic. But God is still in the very slow process of disenchanting us out of our love of winning and succeeding." It's hard sometimes for me as a priest to admit this, but the truth is the church is just as guilty as any other group of falling in love with winning and succeeding. We desperately need to be reminded over and over again that that is not how God works. As we see in today's gospel, Jesus doesn't always come across as much of a winner. The healed man is interrogated and sent packing, but there's no question that they are the ones we are meant to emulate, not the religious leaders and authorities of the day, who seem always to have the right answers, and yet are not doing the will of God. Rumi wrote, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right-doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there." The poem continues, "When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about." Could it be that this field is a place where Jesus is inviting us as well. Inviting us to stop, to set aside our questions about who sinned, to stop boasting in our own righteousness, so that we can be still long enough to follow the voice of the Good Shepherd. Maybe that is where the healing begins. Maybe it is only when we are vulnerable and present enough to lie down beside still waters, touching the humble grass and dirt, letting go of the burden of sorting out the winners from the losers, that we will truly believe that goodness and mercy are following us all the days of our lives, and that we were made to dwell in